I was replacing the worn-out weather stripping on my workshop door when my phone chimed. It was a December afternoon in Phoenix, unseasonably cool for Arizona, and I'd been working on small projects around the house to keep busy after retirement. I wiped the dust off my hands and picked up my phone, expecting maybe a text from my daughter Sarah or a notification from my book club. Instead, it was an email from Jessica, my son Michael's wife. The subject line read, "About Christmas plans." My chest tightened before I even opened it. Nobody sends formal emails about Christmas plans unless something's wrong. I tapped the screen and read, "Hi Robert, hope you're doing well. Michael and I have been talking with my mother Patricia about the holidays, and we've decided that this year we'd like to keep Christmas Day just for immediate family. Patricia will be staying with us for the week, and with the girls' schedule and everything, it's just going to be easier to keep things small and intimate. We're so grateful for everything you do for Emma and Sophia, and we hope you understand. Maybe we can see you the weekend after? Love, Jessica." I read it 3 times. Immediate family. As if I wasn't immediate family. As if the past 5 years of writing checks for $12,000 twice a year meant nothing. As if every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon I spent picking the twins up from that expensive Montessori school and taking them for ice cream somehow didn't count. I set the phone down on my workbench and stared at the half-installed weather stripping. My late wife Margaret would have known exactly what to say. She'd been gone for 4 years now, and I still found myself wanting to ask her advice about things like this. But I knew what she would have told me. She would have said that Patricia was behind this. She would have been right. Let me back up and explain how I got here. When Michael and Jessica got married 8 years ago, I liked Jessica immediately. She was warm, funny, creative. She taught second grade at a public school and genuinely loved those kids. Her mother, Patricia, though, was a different story. Patricia was one of those women who smiled while delivering insults, who always had to be the center of attention, who made every conversation somehow circle back to herself or her opinions. She lived in Scottsdale, in one of those gated communities with the golf course, drove a Mercedes she couldn't quite afford, and seemed to measure her worth by how much she could control. From the beginning, Patricia made little comments. At the wedding, she'd pulled me aside and said, "I hope you're not one of those fathers who can't let go. Jessica needs space to build her own family, you know." I'd laughed it off, told her of course not, but the comment stuck with me. When the twins were born 6 years ago, Patricia was there at the hospital before me. She'd actually instructed the nurses not to let anyone in until she'd had her time with the babies. Michael had apologized later, said Jessica was exhausted, and Patricia had just taken charge, but I'd felt that first sting of being pushed aside. Still, I tried. I really tried. I sent gifts for every occasion. I showed up when invited and left when it seemed appropriate. I never dropped by unannounced. I thought I was doing everything right. 3 years ago, Michael and Jessica had come to me with a problem. The twins were in public kindergarten, and it wasn't going well. Emma was bored and acting out. Sophia was anxious and falling behind. They'd looked into Desert Sage Academy, one of the best private schools in Phoenix, but the tuition was $24,000 per year, per child. They made decent money, both had good jobs, but with their mortgage and student loans and daycare costs, they couldn't swing $48,000 a year. "Dad," Michael had said, and I could see how much it cost him to ask. "I know this is a lot, but would you consider helping us out, just for a few years, until we get on our feet financially? We've looked at every option, and this school would be perfect for them. Small classes, individualized attention, an arts program. But I understand if you can't." I didn't even hesitate. "Of course I'll help." Jessica had started crying. "Robert, we can't ask you to do that. It's too much." "You're not asking," I said. "I'm offering. My girls deserve the best education possible. Margaret and I were lucky. We saved well. The house is paid off. My pension is solid. Let me do this for my granddaughters." And so I'd been writing those checks. $24,000 in August for fall tuition. Another $24,000 in January for spring. For 3 years. That was $144,000 so far. Money I'd saved for retirement, Money Margaret and I had scrimped and planned for. Money I gave gladly because I loved those little girls more than anything in the world. And it had been worth it. Emma and Sophia thrived at Desert Sage. Their teachers raved about them. Emma had discovered a love for science. Sophia was writing poetry. They were happy, confident, curious kids. I picked them up twice a week, took them to my house, helped with homework, taught them to play chess, listened to their stories. Those afternoons were the highlight of my week. But Patricia had always been in the background, making comments. I wish I could afford to send them to private school myself, but on a widow's budget, you know. She wasn't actually struggling financially, but she liked to martyr herself. Robert, you spoil them too much. They need to learn the value of money. I hope you're not trying to buy their affection. I'd ignored her. I'd been polite. I'd bitten my tongue more times than I could count. And now this email. I picked up my phone again and reread it. Patricia will be staying with us for the week. That was the tell. Patricia lived 20 minutes away in Scottsdale. There was no reason she needed to stay with them for a week unless she was deliberately marking her territory. Unless she'd specifically demanded that Christmas be just her, Michael, Jessica, and the girls. I felt something shift in my chest. Not just hurt, though I was hurt. Anger, maybe. Or something colder. Clarity. I thought about calling Michael right then, demanding an explanation. But I'd learned over the years that knee-jerk reactions rarely went well. So instead, I went back inside, made myself a cup of coffee, and sat down at my kitchen table with my laptop. I opened up my bank records and started going through them. Every tuition payment, documented. Every time I'd taken the girls shopping for school supplies or new shoes, saved receipts. Birthday presents, Christmas gifts, the art supplies I bought when Emma got interested in painting, the telescope for Sophia when she wanted to study stars. I pulled up old emails and text messages, Jessica thanking me for the latest tuition payment, Michael saying the girls loved their time with Grandpa Robert, photos of me and the twins at the Science Museum, at the park, at the ice cream shop. I spent 3 hours building a folder. I called it documentation. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it yet, but I wanted everything in one place. Facts, numbers, evidence of exactly how involved I'd been in my granddaughters' lives. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I logged into Facebook, something I rarely used, and checked Jessica's page. She'd made a post that morning. Can't wait for our Christmas week. So blessed to have family time. There were photos attached. A screenshot of a hotel booking confirmation in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. The dates were December 26th through January 2nd. I stared at the screen. They were taking a vacation to Mexico, a resort vacation that, based on the hotel's website, cost around $4,000, right after Christmas. The timing was interesting. Their tuition payment was due January 15th, $24,000 that I would wire to Desert Sage Academy, same as I had for the past 3 years. I sat back in my chair and thought about my son. Michael was 42 years old. I'd raised him to be honest, to be responsible, to be grateful. Somewhere along the way, had I failed? Or had Patricia simply gotten her hooks in so deep that he couldn't see straight anymore? I made a decision then. Not an angry decision, not a spiteful one, but a clear one. I was going to reply to Jessica's email, and I was going to be honest. I typed, Jessica, I received your email about Christmas. I understand Patricia wants to spend the holiday with her daughter and granddaughters, and I respect that. I do have a question, though. I noticed your Facebook post about the Cabo trip in late December. That looks like a wonderful vacation. I'm curious about how that fits with our agreement about tuition. The next payment is due January 15th, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page about priorities and expectations. Let's talk soon. Robert, I reread it twice. It was polite. It was factual. It stated my concerns without being accusatory. I hit send. Then I waited. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Michael. I let it ring 3 times before I answered. Dad? His voice was tight. We need to talk. I agree, I said calmly. When works for you? Jessica's upset. She said you were passive-aggressive in your email. I felt a flash of anger but kept my voice level. I asked a straightforward question. Michael, you're planning a $4,000 vacation 3 weeks before a $24,000 tuition payment is due. I think I'm entitled to ask about that. The vacation is a gift from Patricia, he said quickly. She's paying for it. For all of us. It's not coming out of our budget. I see. I paused. And you didn't think that was relevant information to share before telling me I'm not invited to Christmas? Silence on the other end. Dad, it's not like that. Patricia just wanted some special time with the girls. She doesn't get to see them as much as you do. She lives 20 minutes away, Michael. She's busy. She has her bridge club and her volunteer work, and I'm busy too, I said, and I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice anymore. I'm busy picking up your daughters twice a week. I'm busy helping with homework. I'm busy paying for their education while you take luxury vacations. That's not fair, isn't it? I stood up and walked to my kitchen window, looking out at the desert sunset. Let me ask you something. If Patricia hadn't been paying for this trip, would you have been able to afford it? Another pause. Probably not. Not comfortably. And yet you accepted it. Dad, what do you want me to say? She's Jessica's mother. She wanted to do something nice for us. I want you to say, I said carefully, that you understand why it might hurt that I'm excluded from Christmas while Patricia gets a week with your family, all while I'm the one making it financially possible for your daughters to attend the school that's helping them thrive. You're making this about money. You're damn right I'm making this about money, I said, and my voice rose. Not because I want credit or recognition, but because I want basic respect. I want to be treated like family instead of like an ATM machine that Patricia gets to push aside whenever she feels like it. Patricia has nothing to do with this. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Michael, do you really believe that? Do you honestly think Jessica woke up one morning and decided on her own that I shouldn't come to Christmas? The silence told me everything I needed to know. I love you, son, I said quietly, and I love Jessica and those girls more than anything. But I'm not going to keep funding your life while being treated like I'm an inconvenience. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to think very carefully about the tuition payment in January. And you and Jessica are going to think very carefully about what kind of relationship you want to have with me going forward. Do we understand each other? Dad, please don't. Good night, Michael. I hung up. My hand was shaking. I'm not a confrontational person. Margaret had always been the one who spoke up, who drew boundaries, who called people out on their nonsense. I'd been the peacekeeper, the accommodator. But sitting there in my empty kitchen, I realized that being the peacekeeper had just made me a doormat. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept imagining Christmas morning at Michael's house, Patricia presiding over the gift opening, making her little comments, positioning herself as the beloved grandmother while I sat alone in my house. The twins asking where Grandpa Robert was. Jessica making excuses. Or worse, not even mentioning me at all. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called my daughter Sarah. She lived in Seattle with her husband and 2 kids, and we talked every couple of weeks, but I'd been keeping the situation with Michael mostly to myself. I didn't want to burden her or create sibling drama. But when she answered and heard my voice, she immediately knew something was wrong. Dad, what is it? I told her everything. The email, the Cabo trip, the phone call with Michael. She listened without interrupting, which was Sarah's gift. She'd always been the thoughtful one, the observer. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Stop paying the tuition." Sarah, I'm serious, Dad. Stop enabling this. Michael needs to grow up and stand up to his mother-in-law, and as long as you keep bailing him out financially, he never will. And Jessica needs to understand that you're not an optional part of this family. But the girls will be fine. Maybe they'll have to go to public school. You know what? Public school isn't a tragedy. I went to public school. You went to public school. They'll survive. What won't be fine is if they grow up watching their parents treat you like garbage and thinking that's normal. I'd never heard Sarah so blunt. Besides, she continued, you've already given them $144,000. That's more than most people see in years. You've done your part. More than your part. I told Michael I'd think about it. Well, I'm telling you what to think. Don't pay it. Set a boundary. See what happens. After we hung up, I sat with her advice. It made sense logically, but emotionally, I kept thinking about Emma and Sophia. They loved Desert Sage. They had friends there. Pulling them out mid-year would be disruptive. But then, I thought about what I was teaching them by continuing to pay. That Grandpa was a pushover? That you could treat people badly as long as they were useful to you? No, Sarah was right. Over the next week, I didn't hear anything from Michael or Jessica. No follow-up call, no apology, no attempt to smooth things over. Just silence. That told me everything I needed to know about how they viewed the situation. On December 15th, I got another email from Jessica. Breezy and cheerful, as if our previous exchange hadn't happened. Hi, Robert. Just wanted to give you a heads up that tuition is due on the 15th of January. The school usually sends the invoice directly to you, but I wanted to make sure you got it. The girls are doing so well this year. Emma won a science fair prize, and Sophia's teacher says her reading comprehension is off the charts. Thank you so much for making this possible. Hope you have a nice Christmas. Love, Jay. I read it twice. No acknowledgement of what had happened. No mention of Christmas plans or my exclusion. Just a cheerful reminder that my money was expected. I opened up my documentation folder and added the email to it. Then I drafted a response. But I didn't send it. Not yet. I wanted to think it through carefully. On December 18th, something unexpected happened. I got a text from Sophia's number. The twins shared a phone for emergencies, and they weren't supposed to use it except to call parents or me. The text said, "Grandpa, are you coming for Christmas?" Mom said, "Maybe not. I miss you. Love, Sophia." My heart broke. I called immediately, but Jessica answered. "Robert, hi." "Sorry," Sophia grabbed the phone. "She's not supposed to text. Can I talk to her?" A pause. "She's doing homework. Can I have her call you back?" Jessica. I kept my voice steady. "I'd like to talk to my granddaughter." "Now, please." Another pause, then Sophia's voice. "Grandpa?" "Hey, sweetheart. I got your text. Are you mad at us?" "What? No, honey. Of course not. Why would you think that? Mom said you might not come for Christmas because you're busy. Are you busy?" I closed my eyes. "Sophia, I'm never too busy for you and your sister. Never. But sometimes grown-ups have disagreements about plans, and we're trying to figure some things out." "Okay." Her voice was small. "I made you a present at school. For Christmas. I can't wait to see it. Will I see you soon?" "Yes," I said firmly. "You'll see me soon. I promise." After we hung up, I sat there for a long time. Then I made a decision. I sent an email to Michael, Jessica, and for good measure, Patricia. I CC'd Sarah. The subject line was, "Family meeting required." The email said, "I need to meet with Michael, Jessica, and Patricia this week to discuss our family situation and financial arrangements going forward. This is not optional. I'm available Thursday evening at 7 p.m. at my house. Please confirm attendance. Robert." Michael called within an hour. "Dad, what is this? Why are you including Patricia?" "Because Patricia is part of this situation, whether you want to admit it or not. And if we're going to have an honest conversation, everyone involved needs to be present. Jessica's mom doesn't." "Thursday at 7, I said. "All of you. If you're not there, I'll consider that your answer, and I'll proceed accordingly." I hung up before he could argue. Thursday evening, they showed up. All three of them. Patricia looked annoyed, Jessica looked nervous, and Michael looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. I'd set up my dining room table with printouts from my documentation folder, bank statements showing tuition payments, receipts for gifts and expenses, a calendar showing the days I'd picked up the girls from school, screenshots of texts and emails thanking me for my generosity. They sat down, and I remained standing. "Thank you for coming," I said. "I know this is uncomfortable, but it's necessary." Patricia started to say something, but I held up my hand. "I'm going to talk first. You'll all have a chance to respond." I picked up the first document, A summary I'd typed up. For the past 3 years, I have paid $144,000 for Emma and Sophia's education. I have done this gladly because I love my granddaughters and I wanted to help. I have never asked for anything in return except to be part of their lives. I looked at each of them. Recently, I was informed via email that I'm not welcome at Christmas because Patricia wants the day to be immediate family only. At the same time, I discovered that you're taking a $4,000 vacation to Mexico paid for by Patricia. Patricia opened her mouth, but I continued. I'm not finished. What bothers me isn't the vacation. What bothers me is the pattern. I'm useful when you need money, but I'm disposable when it comes to actual family time. I'm good enough to write checks, but not good enough to spend Christmas with my grandchildren. Jessica was crying now. Michael was staring at the table. So here's where we are, I said, sitting down finally. The next tuition payment is due in 4 weeks. $24,000. I'm not going to pay it. Dad! Michael's head snapped up. I'm not going to pay it, I repeated, unless we can reach an understanding. And that understanding needs to include all of us acknowledging some truths. I looked at Patricia. Patricia, you've been undermining my relationship with this family since the beginning. You make passive-aggressive comments. You position yourself as the superior grandmother. You manipulate situations to exclude me. And I've let you because I didn't want to cause conflict. That ends today. Her face went red. How dare you? No, I said firmly. You don't get to how dare me. Not in my house. Not after I've spent $144,000 supporting your daughter's family while you play power games. I turned to Jessica. Jessica, you're caught between your mother and your husband, and I understand that's hard. But you're also a grown woman and a mother. You have to decide what kind of values you want to model for Emma and Sophia. Right now, you're teaching them that it's okay to use people and discard them. Is that really what you want? She sobbed harder. Finally, I looked at Michael. And you, son, I raised you better than this. I raised you to stand up for what's right, to protect your family, to be grateful. Where is that man? Michael's jaw worked. He glanced at Patricia, then at Jessica, then at me. I could see the war happening inside him. Say something, I said quietly. He took a deep breath, then another. When he spoke, his voice was shaky but clear. You're right. Patricia made a noise of protest, but Michael held up his hand, exactly like I had done. No, Mom, Patricia, he's right. We've been taking advantage. Dad's been incredibly generous, and we've been treating him like an inconvenience. That's not okay. Jessica looked at him in surprise. Michael turned to her. Honey, I love your mom, but she's been controlling our lives, and I've let her because it was easier than standing up to her. That's on me. But it stops now. He looked back at me. Dad, I'm sorry. Truly sorry. You shouldn't have had to do this. Put it all out on the table like this. I should have seen it myself. I should have said something weeks ago when Mom Patricia first suggested you skip Christmas. She suggested it? I asked. Jessica nodded miserably. She said it would be more special with just the 4 of us. That you got to see the girls all the time, and she didn't. And I didn't think it through. I didn't think about how it would hurt you. I'm sorry, Robert. Patricia stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. You're all ungrateful. Sit down, Patricia. Michael's voice had steel in it I'd never heard before. Or leave. But if you leave, you need to understand that things are going to be different from now on. She stared at him, shocked. Then slowly, she sat. Michael continued. I've been spineless. I've let you steamroll over my wife, my kids, and my father because I didn't want conflict. But my dad just showed me what having a backbone looks like. He came here with facts and said what needed to be said. So I'm saying it now too. You're Emma and Sophia's grandmother, and we love you. But you don't get to dictate our family dynamics anymore. You don't get to exclude my father. You don't get to make passive-aggressive comments. If you can be respectful and kind, you're always welcome. But the manipulation stops. Patricia's mouth opened and closed. For once in her life, she seemed speechless. I looked at my son, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Okay, I said. Here's what I propose. I'll continue to pay tuition through the end of this school year. That's through June. After that, you're on your own. Not because I don't love the girls, but because you need to take full responsibility for your choices and your finances. If that means Desert Sage, figure it out. If that means public school, they'll adapt. But this gives you 6 months to plan. Michael nodded. That's fair. Second, I expect to be included in family holidays. Not every single one, but Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. If Patricia is there, I'm there. If that's a problem, we deal with it like adults. Agreed, Jessica said quickly. Third, I'd like to keep my Tuesday and Thursday afternoons with the girls. Those are important to me. Of course, Michael said. They're important to them, too. Sophia asks about you constantly. I felt my throat tighten. Patricia finally spoke, her voice tight. And what about me? Do I not get a say in any of this? I looked at her. Patricia, you get all the say you want in your own life, but you don't get a say in mine. You don't get to decide when I see my granddaughters or whether I'm welcome at family gatherings. If you want to be part of their lives, you're welcome. But on equal footing with me, not above me. Can you do that? She pressed her lips together. For a moment, I thought she'd storm out. Then, quietly, she said, I suppose I'll have to. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even really acceptance. But it was acknowledgement, and for now, that would do. We talked for another hour, working out details, clearing the air. Patricia left first, stiffly. Jessica gave me a long hug and whispered, Thank you for not giving up on us. Michael stayed after they left. We stood in my driveway, and he said, I don't know how you did that. I've never stood up to her like that before. You found it when you needed it, I said. That's what matters. Will you come to Christmas? I'll come to Christmas. He hugged me, something he hadn't done in years. I'm proud to be your son, Dad. Christmas was awkward at first. Patricia was there, cordial but distant. But when Emma and Sophia ran to me with squeals of Grandpa and handed me the presents they'd made, painted pictures of me and them together, nothing else mattered. Jessica made a point of seating me next to the twins at dinner. Michael gave a toast, thanking everyone for being there, and he made deliberate eye contact with me when he talked about family. Patricia left early, claiming a headache. But before she went, she said to me, quietly, Those girls are lucky to have you. It wasn't much, but it was something. In January, I paid the tuition. In June, I paid it one last time. The following year, Michael and Jessica managed to swing it themselves by cutting back on other expenses and Jessica taking on summer tutoring. They were proud of themselves, and I was proud of them. I still see the twins every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm at every school play, every science fair, every birthday. Patricia and I maintain a polite distance, but she no longer tries to edge me out. She seems to have realized that there's room for both of us in those girls' lives. Looking back on that December night, setting up my dining room table with all those documents, I realized what I was really doing. I was teaching my son what I'd failed to teach him earlier. That love doesn't mean being a doormat. That generosity shouldn't come with disrespect attached. That family means showing up for each other, not just when it's convenient or profitable. Margaret would have been proud. I think about her sometimes, especially on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons when I'm helping the twins with homework or taking them for ice cream. I think about how she always knew when to be soft and when to be steel. I found my steel that December. And I found my son again, too.